This is from a debate in the House of Commons. I believe that I'm legally entitled to record and distribute this because it's from the House of Commons. What's being discussed right now is a little problem that they're having with safe supply. And the problem is that supply is like hydrocodone or something like that, and they're manufacturing it and putting it out there to help drug addicts. But the drug addicts want fentanyl, and so they sell the hydromorphone, I think it is, and buy fentanyl. And in order to make that work, they have to find people to sell it to, and there's only so many real drug addicts, and the real drug addicts aren't going to buy that. So they have to find people that aren't addicted to heroin yet, people that don't have a tolerance. So the liberals are supplying them with the drugs, and they're turning it around and spreading it as much as they can, as much as they need to. They'd get a certain supply, and they'd try to get the best price for it, and they would be sucking people into the lifestyle of a heroin addict. This has been going on for a while. We've known this. And here's what Pierre Poilievre had to say.
What the Prime Minister is doing is massively increasing the drug overdose crisis in this country. He has been providing taxpayer dollars for high-powered drugs that have flooded our streets and lowered the cost of hydromorphine on the streets by as much as 95% in Vancouver, leading to the deaths of 30,000 Canadians. Will the Prime Minister back away from his reckless plan to join with the NDP in BC and decriminalize crack, heroin, and other deadly drugs?
I honestly think that there are probably people with, they're going to have post-traumatic stress disorder from this. With all the mess that we've got, they've started actually putting it out there, and it's being sold to people that aren't heroin addicts yet. They're expanding it, and they're paying for it. That's traumatizing. A lot of things that they do are traumatizing. It's traumatizing them cooperating like they did with the Chinese Communist Party. I don't see how a person could. This is political trauma.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the toxic drug and overdose crisis continues to take a tragic...
Prime Minister.
Speaker, the toxic drug and overdose crisis continues to take a tragic toll on families, loved ones, and communities. We're using every tool at our disposal to work with our partners to end this national public health crisis. Since 2017, we've committed to more than $1 billion to address the overdose crisis, and we're taking concrete steps to divert people who use drugs away from the criminal justice system. The evidence is clear. Harm reduction measures save lives.
One of the ways that they want to reduce the harm is by making it legal. That's not what they should do. We should be thinking about criminalizing it again. We should be going in exactly the opposite direction that they would suggest, because they always get everything exactly wrong. We were doing a lot better with it before. We know what we need to do. We need to arrest people for small amounts and put them through rehabilitation programs. It's going to be really expensive and hard to house people. Like, it's such a mess now. But here he is, he spent $1 billion on this, and it's gotten, I think that the death rate has gone up 300% since they came into office. I think more than that. I'll see what it is.
46,000 overdoses have been reversed since 2017. We will continue to trust the science.
46,000 overdoses have been reversed. So that means that they've gotten whatever that drug is that you're supposed to take if you have a heroin overdose. Oh.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
What the science shows is that, and I'll quote Giuseppe Ganci, the head of Last Store Recovery, 100% of all the people I've met who are on safer supply sell their supply. I've never met anybody who's taken all of it. Why do they sell it? Because while it's powerful enough to get a high to begin with, it loses its strength with use, and so it gets sold to kids, and the profits are then used for fentanyl. And then those kids buy the fentanyl when the hydromorphine is not.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt there. It's getting noisy again. From the top, please.
This speaker is clearly biased against the Conservatives. And that's the way it goes in the committee hearings as well. And there's a really sinister sort of tactic that I see employed. And that's what they do is that when a person is making a particularly succinct and important and dramatic point, they interrupt them right in the middle of it. I've seen this a bunch of times. And the other tactic is a kind of a gaslighting where they don't appreciate the seriousness of what's being said to them. Maybe they really don't appreciate the seriousness, but I find that hard to believe. They couldn't be that stupid. I see them just go things that you'd have to be stupid to not understand were important. And that's certainly the case here.
Let's just start off. I just want everybody to listen to each other, listen to whoever's speaking, and then when the answer comes, please, everyone listen to the answer as well. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition, please.
Furthermore, to quote a recent article on the matter, according to some experts I spoke to, this has caused the price of hydromorphine, the primary opioid dispensed at safer supply sites, to drop by an estimated 70 to 95% in cities with safer supply programs. In other words, the only thing that has been exempt from the Prime Minister's inflation is the powerful drugs that are killing people because he's subsidizing them and flooding them into our streets, including through dispensaries. Will the Prime Minister finally put an end to the deadly policies he's put in place that are killing our people?
The Right Honourable.
Now he's going to do what all truly evil people do. I'd almost say professionally evil. And that's accuse the other side of doing what it is that you're doing. It's a gaslighting exercise. It's meant to destabilize you. And it's sadistic. The way that they can listen to some really important and profound thing and not be emotionally fazed by it. I think that's an act, and they understand. Like when you're making it a point that's simply important, right? And people don't seem to comprehend what you're saying. That's traumatizing. And it's sadistic. For him to start saying that, he's going to say that Pierre Poilievre is ideologically driven. What did he just say? He just said that this alternative drug is flooding the streets and creating more heroin addicts, right? And let's see what the nut says.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the ongoing opioids epidemic is taking far too many lives across the country, whether it's families, whether it's workers, whether...
Yeah, you're trying to get into it, trying to figure out what you're going to do about something, right? And they'll stand up and talk about what a serious issue it is. We know it's a serious issue, okay? I've seen them do it like 100 times, talk about, oh, this is a serious issue. Yeah, that's why we're here talking about it, dummy. Or how concerned they are, right? They get kind of emotional about it. But they're just wasting time, just running down the clock.
There's communities from coast to coast to coast, and we need to stay grounded in the science and the evidence and how we're going to respond to it. Now, the Conservatives' ideologically driven solutions are good for bumper stickers, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, what he's responding to is that the fact that the government is supplying drug addicts with drugs that they're turning around and selling on the street and creating more addicts. And this is his response?
Mr. Speaker, the ongoing opioids epidemic is...
Pierre Poilievre isn't following the science? He's ideologically driven? And he has to know this. I would call it a conservative counterculture that's been around for quite a long time, that see him as the most ideologically driven person in the Western world, at least. How could he be so obtuse, so unaware? And that would include his writers and things as well. I mean, it's an astounding disconnect. It's a phenomenal thing.
But they are not effective in supporting people in moving forward on a health-based approach to opioids and making sure we are supporting people and getting them through this. We will continue with harm reduction.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
To be blunt, his policies are killing people. The number of deaths, the number of overdose deaths that have happened in this country, and in British Columbia in particular, where the policies of this government and the NDP are most advanced, are up by 300%. Those deaths were 75% lower before these policies came into place.
There
But
it
worse,
is. There's the science.
Beyond just subsidizing deadly drugs, now he wants to decriminalize crack, heroin, cocaine in partnership with the NDP government in BC. This policy is insane. It is killing people. Will the Prime Minister reverse it before it's too late for more Canadians?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the ideological fear-mongering coming from the Conservatives is all too typical and all too unfortunate. We have seen this kind of rhetoric before.
Well, that was amazing. Wow. Like, Pierre's talking to him about people that are dying, right? And he responds with something as insincere and phony as this. Like, I have to watch that again.
Drugs. Now he wants to decriminalize crack, heroin, cocaine in partnership with the NDP government in BC. This policy is insane. It is killing people. Will the Prime Minister reverse it before it's too late for more Canadians?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the ideological fear-mongering coming from the Conservatives is all too typical and all too unfortunate. We have seen this kind of rhetoric before.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to stop everything again. We'll wait a few seconds.
There's an arrogance there, and as he was sitting down, I looked in his eyes and I almost felt that he believed what he was saying.
The ideological fear-mongering from the Conservatives is alarming. It is the kind of rhetoric that we've seen all too often from the American far right and now here in Canada. We need to stay grounded in what the frontline responders are telling us, in what the frontline doctors and health experts have been doing to save lives across the country. We will continue to work on a harm reduction approach. We will continue to work with frontline partners. We will not be swayed by the ideological approach of the Conservatives on supporting people as we fight this epidemic.
I wonder what is the ideology that he's referring to even. You know, he's just making noises with his mouth.
The Leader of the Opposition.
What is truly alarming is a walk through many of our inner city streets.
I was
There
just
you will
going to
see
say
10
that.
cities where people are lying face first on the ground because he has flooded those streets with taxpayer-funded drugs, and he has signed a deal with the NDP to decriminalize crack, heroin, cocaine, meth, and other drugs. He has imported this ideological and extremist policy from failed big American cities where the result has been exactly the same. So will he finally abandon his reckless and extremist policies in favor of a common sense plan that gives recovery and bring home our people?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it feels like it's deja vu all over again. We spent years in opposition fighting against the Stephen Harper ideological approach that stood against harm reduction, that allowed people to die in the streets, that criminalized drug users. Mr. Speaker, that failed, and Canadians chose a different path in 2017, one grounded in evidence.
Yeah, whatever he wants to say. We see that it's the wokies with the various attitudes that has created this problem. Now you've got a lot of people that have but having a very bad time for a long time, and even just getting them off drugs isn't gonna do it. And he also had such lax bail policies that violent offenders were repeat violent offenders, and he repeatedly let them out onto the street. You can see the mess. I mean, it's frightening.